Okay. So as discussed in my previous discussion, we need design specification. After that, functional behavior, all those things will be coming into picture for any general design flow. Okay, so here after collecting all the things, the next part we are going to move is here design entry. So the design entry can be done in two ways. I will be explaining you about this design entry in detail. So the remaining steps after the design entry is logical synthesis, system partitioning, floor planning, placement, routing, circuit extraction, a post layout simulation and implementation. All the steps are in alike with your VLSI design flow. Only the part that makes a difference here is in the VLSI design flow, we are having a chip realization, but in the digital design flow, we are having the hardware realization. Okay, implementation on your PLD boards, that is programmable logical devices. Okay, so our part comes here is design entry. So the design entry can be done in schematic way or by using the HDL, that is hardware description language. Anyhow, you are aware of the schematic entry because in our VLSI subject, you might have developed many number of combinational circuits and sequential circuits by using the schematics. That means picking the transistors and connecting them such that the overall circuit diagram is meeting the required functionality. That is about the schematic entry. And coming to the hardware description language, the hardware description language, by using some programming language, we are describing the hardware such that this language, I mean, the code what I am writing for my design is meeting the functionality of the design. Okay, so that is hardware description language. For example, you can consider any multiplexer as a digital circuit. So instead of connecting a many number of transistors in the schematic way, what I can do here is I can develop or I can design the multiplexer circuit by using the program, that is hardware description language. So again, this hardware description language is categorized into VHDL and Verilog HDL. So VHDL, we had discussed VHDL and Verilog HDL, the differences we have discussed in the previous lecture. So what is the schematic entry? Schematic entry is nothing but picking the transistors or picking the logical gates and interconnecting them such that it is yet to achieve the required functionality. And coming to, yeah, you can see here, for example, this AND gate is there. This AND gate is developed by many number of transistors, like 6 transistors are there. And this is also developed by 6 transistors. So I have got here an AND gate, I have got here an OR gate, such that a plenty number of logical gates or a transistors which are manually interconnected by using the wires. In between them, we do have the connections, right? So this is nothing but schematic way of representation. This is nothing but your schematic way. And then how to describe this design in terms of a hardware description language, we'll see. So here module example. Okay. So because I just wanted to treat all these schematic circuit as a one module because it is a module, it is a block. This block is like meeting some functionality. What is that functionality? Now we will see. And the inputs for the module are A pin, B pin, and outputs are C and D as the output pins here. Okay. So remaining all the things in between the input and output pins are nothing but your logic. So what is the module name I have kept for this above diagram is example, and inside my module the input output pins, what are the input pins? A and B, and the output pins are here C and D. So these are to be present inside this sensitivity list. We call this as a sensitivity list. All the input output ports are present here. So we don't know what are the input ports and what are the output pins. So what I am doing here is input. That means I am specifically mentioning what are my inputs and what are my outputs. So as soon as I mention the inputs and outputs, what I am doing, because I am having some intermediate connection, like this OR gate is connected with the second AND 2 gate is there. OR1 is connected with AND 2 is there. And This first AND gate is connected with an inverter, and this output of the inverter is connected again with an one more AND gate. So that means I am having here in between three wires: first wire, second wire, and third wire. So how many wires are there here? Three wires. So wire X comma Y. Why did he use it? Let me check. Wire X comma Y. So this is the one. Okay, he taken directly. Right. So wire X comma Y. And so here how many AND gates I am using in my design? Two AND gates I am using. This is my first AND gate. Let me call it as an AND one. And this is my second AND gate. This is my AND two. So here and let me call the AND A1. The name of the first AND gate is A1, and the output of this AND gate is directly C. The inputs for the AND gate are A comma B. So here what I have depicted, C comma A comma B. That means I have written the output pin first, next input pin next. Okay. So as soon as I got the output from your AND gate, this output of your AND gate is acting as an input for your inverter. So inverter pin is having one more output, right? One input and one output will be there for your inverter. So NOT X comma C. C is the input for your inverter or a NOT gate, and X is your output. So this is the wire called X. This X is the wire, okay, and this X wire, and let me name this output of your OR gate. The wire is Y. So OR gate is there, or Y comma A comma B. So the inputs of your OR gate are A comma B, and the output is Y. So this wire called Y and this wire called X are acting as an inputs for your second AND gate. Okay, so or Y comma A comma B in this way. Next, what happens? The output of your AND gate or the output of your OR gate, sorry, AND gate is nothing but your sum called D, that is output pin. Now AND A2, that means the second AND gate I am using in the design, right? For which I am going to name it as A2. So D comma X comma Y. So the inputs for your second AND gate are X comma Y, and the output is D small d. So that means what are my primary inputs A comma B, and what are the primary outputs C comma D. By using the inputs, I can say that by using the input signal, I have to achieve or I have to realize the outputs. So finally, my outputs are C comma D. I have got a value of D here, and I have got a value of C here. That means I have got the outputs by using the inputs. Okay. So this is how you are going to write an HDL design. Understand, ma'am?
Sir, can you explain again?
Sure, sure. एक minute. This is one module, ma'am. Okay. This module is having inputs A and B. Outputs are C and D. In this module, I am having logical gates, AND gate, two AND gates. I am having one OR gate and one NOT gate. So this AND gate and this inverter is connected with a wire. Okay, wire, some wire, or I can say that the output of this AND gate is acting as an input for your inverter. The output of your AND gate is nothing but I would like to give the name of it as C wire because it is directly connected to C output pin. So let me name this one as C wire. The output of this inverter is X wire, and the output of your OR gate is Y wire, and the output of your this AND gate is D wire. Okay, so the module, I would like to give the module name as example, and as soon as I am telling that it is a module, this module definitely going to have the input pins as well as the output pins. Input pins are A comma B and output pins are C comma D, which I have again exclusively defined here inside my module definition. So in between what I am having the wires, right? So that is output of your inverter, I am saying it is an X wire, and output of your OR gate, I am saying it is an Y wire. So wire, a keyword I am exclusively defining here to name those wires X and Y. So like all the intermediate things, I mean declaring is over. Now I need to write what is the logic that is present inside my module. I am having two AND gates here. First AND gate I am naming it as A1. Second AND gate I am naming it as A2. So the output of your first AND gate is what? C, for which the corresponding inputs will be A comma B. Okay, so the output of your AND gate is C and the inputs of your AND gate is A comma B. So this output of your first AND gate is serving as an input for your NOT gate. In the diagram you can see. This C is serving as an input for your NOT gate, and in output of your NOT gate you are getting here as X as a variable. So X is the output of your NOT gate. Now, just keep this thing aside now. So coming to OR gate. The OR gate inputs are what now here? OR gate
A
inputs
comma
are,
B.
what is the output of your OR gate I have taken?
Y.
So now you tell me what is the inputs for your second AND gate?
X and Y.
Okay, what is the output of your second AND gate? D.
D.
E.
That's it. Okay, so output of your second AND gate is D and the inputs are X comma Y. In this way, I have completed my module realization. So now you guys tell me which is the easier way picking, like picking the number of transistors and making a logical gate and connecting all the logical gates is to realize a module is easier, or writing a simple instructions in this manner is easier?
Writing simple instruction is easy.
That's it. Okay, that makes a difference. That's the advantage of your hardware description language. Okay, understood everyone?
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, when we are writing the inputs and output of AND gate A1,
Hmm.
and when we are writing inputs and output of A2, why there is capitalization is followed before the A1 gate in the code?
Actually, it is a small a only. It is not capital A. We follow only case sensitivity. Verilog supports case sensitivity. That means we shouldn't keep capital A here and small a here. These actually all the logical gates are nothing but acting as a keywords in our Verilog description language. Okay, so here it is a small a only by mistake. I have written as capital A. Okay, this is small a. Because these are the two instances, like copies of your AND gate. First copy I give it the name as A1, second copy I give it the name as A2. Okay. If there are no copies of your logical gates, you can simply write directly like or not like that. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more doubts, man? Anywhere?
Sir, by simply writing and or
Hmm.
it is executing the what means the
Chapter.
outputs of or
Chapter. Hmm. Okay. Let me. If it is clear, I will move to the next concept.
okay, sir.
Sir, is this a sequential execution process, sir?
Not exactly.
Sir,
Not exactly.
if I have
Verilog is a concurrent execution language, not a sequential execution language. Why it is said like that means you will be knowing it in further classes. Okay, but it is
Sorry.
not. Yeah. Tell me.
Sorry, in the here we have two AND gates.
Mhm.
That's why we are naming A1, A2. If I
Yeah.
have two OR gates, then how
Yeah.
should I name, sir?
O1, O2 or X1, X2, your wish. You can keep the copies, you can keep any names, because if I go to a class, I am having 60 number of students. So for each student, I am having different names, right? Of course, they are treated as a student, but each student is having different unique names. Okay. Understand?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
sir, if this is not a sequential execution process, then how it will understand and A1 is the first one and
Okay. We'll complete because we are having further slides. After that, you will be getting the clarity on the subject. Okay. As of now, you just follow like this concept only, right?
okay.
Sir, is module example is this a
You
syntax
can
call?
keep syntax is this one. I will explain you, ma. Wait. This example, instead of this module example, instead of example name, you can keep your favorite movie name like KGF or some kind of movie name also. But you can keep your vision. I don't keep any obligation for that. Module name is your flexibility and it is your freedom. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. So yeah, this is the example of your full ladder. This is my full ladder example. A comma B comma C are the inputs, and this is two half adders, one OR gate, and this is my sum, and this is my carry. So inside my half adder, this is what I am having the realization. Okay, this is my half adder realization. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so like that means here I have already developed a full half adder here. This half adder I am utilizing for my development of full adder circuit. This is the what the picture conveys the information. Okay, next. So I have told you that Verilog HDL is a very easier language. It doesn't have many number of data types and doesn't include libraries and doesn't have many number of parameters. All these things I have told you, right, in the difference of Verilog and VHDL. So let me take an example of the XOR gate whose inputs are A and B. And the outputs of your XOR gate is C here. So module XOR data. I just given the module name for this is XOR data, whose outputs are C and inputs are A comma B. Inputs are what? A comma B, outputs are C. Assign C equal to. That means assign. I am doing what here? Assigning. What is C? C is expressed in terms of A and B as C equal to A XOR B. End module. So this is the one Verilog language, hardware designing using a Verilog language. But coming to the VHDL, I told you that many number of libraries have to be included and many number of standards, many number of protocols and parameters we need to include. All these things will be coming into picture. So library IEEE, use IEEE.std underscore logic underscore 1164.org. That means these are the packages we are using here. So entity, that means it is a module, just like a module. XOR, what is a module name? XOR1 is port. That means defining the port. The ports are A comma B, which are the input standard logics, and C is the output standard logic ports. And entity. That means I completed the modules inputs and outputs. And what is this logic? That means inside my module, I need to develop the logic, right? That is architecture. Architecture data flow of XOR1 is. Okay. So what is the architecture? C is less than or equal to A XOR B. XOR is a keyword again here. End architecture. That means I completed the definition of the architecture. So what is the which architecture? It is data flow. Data flow. The architecture name is data flow, and the end architecture. Which architecture I am going to end here? Data flow architecture. Why? Because why I have kept data flow exclusively as its name is the instruction in between begin and end. This comes under the data flow. This less than or equal to, like assigning, we are using the equality, right? So this instruction is comes under the category of a data flow assignment. That is why architecture data flow. Okay. So now you guys tell me, if you're writing the or developing any hardware circuit or any logical circuit is feeling us a risk, I mean heavy process in VHDL or Verilog, which is difficult one and which is easier one in developing the code.
VHDL is difficult, sir, and Verilog HDL is very easy.
Why?
It has
You have to remember all packages.
Right. So that is why Verilog is highly acceptable by the hardware designers. Schematic entry, VHDL, Verilog. Among these three, which is easier one and which is less time consuming? Which is less time consuming? Hello?
Verilog is less time consuming, sir.
Okay, okay. Right. So, hierarchical design. So, what is this hierarchical design is nothing but if you concentrate on this diagram, I am developing my full ladder, right? But this full ladder is developed by a number of half adders along with one OR gate, right? But again, this half adder is developed by many number of logical gates, right? Again, each and every logical gate is developed by many number of transistors. In this way, I am able to achieve a bigger module by following some hierarchy. Okay, that means a group of atoms is giving you a molecule, a group of molecules is giving you a compound, a group of compounds is giving you a chemical formula. In this way, a group of transistors is giving you a logical gate, and a group of logical gates is making you an submodule, and a many number of submodules is giving you a main module or a main system. That is what hierarchical design is depicting you. Okay, so synthesis, as you people are aware of, you might be learned in VLSI. So it is a conversion of RTL into register transfer level. That means hardware description language into a gate level netlist. So all these things you learned it. You can just go through the slide. Okay, shall I go? Right. So gate level netlist from RTL description, that means behavioral, like behavioral description into gate level netlist, how this is happening. Like for example, I am having some module. So I don't know what is the functionality of this module. I have written the code in Verilog. I have written the code in VHDL. Okay, main body, this is I am defining here. Two main bodies only I am defining. So this RTL, that means like HDL description or the program code is manual, is automatically getting converted into your structural representation or a gate level representation, because all these are logical gates, or sometimes all these are nothing but a modules or a sub modules which are interconnected among them by using the wires. That is why we are calling it as a gate level netlist. That means a domain have been translated, right, from here to here. So actually this Verilog code, the diagram is this one. Okay, so after that what happened here, every in the synthesis output is a gate level netlist. That means each and everything have to be converted into a gate, and all are connected with using a nets. So gate level netlist. So that means from the programming code or RTL description, I'm getting here the gate level netlist, and after, as soon as I get the gate level netlist, next is optimization. That means this hardware digital circuit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 number of logical gates are required here. Can I optimize? Can I reduce the number of logical gates so such that I am not disturbing the functionality of the hardware circuit? Yes, it is possible. That is, we call it as an optimization. So here 7 gates I have used it here. So here how many? 5 gates only. That means within the less area I can still able to achieve the required functionality. That is nothing but the optimization. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Right. Next is floor planning. Okay, system partitioning, floor planning, placement and routing. So this is how some blocks here are randomly placed in this area. So what happened after this? One second. Okay. So this is approximately giving me an area of 3 square centimeters, and this is approximately giving me an area of 3.05 square centimeters. So system partitioning, what I have to do such that my target is to reduce or to to optimize or to make the less space in between the blocks, such that I need to place my blocks in less amount of area. So that means that this area, this part of this area, I am not using here. So, but coming to here, I have used the entire area, but coming to here, I have used less than this area. So of course it is a 1.75, it is a 1.75. If you remove it, you can consider it as 1.25, for example, 1.25 to 1.75. That means I can able to achieve the same required functionality within the less area, right? This is nothing but system partitioning and floor planning. Actually, it is a floor planning. Okay. So this is nothing but the optimization. And after the floor planning, it is we are placing the modules in the respective area of the floor. And next is routing. That means each and every module are getting connected with each other. This is floor planning, placement, and routing. Of course, you have studied it. It is not our subject. Our subject is mainly Verilog HDL only. I'm just revising these things. That's it. Next is after we are having the layout, you know what is this parasitic resistances and capacitances that you need to find out. Okay, so yeah, coming to our part is a digital design flow. Coming to the ASIC chip, that is VLSI design flow, what is the final part we will be sending to foundries for the fabrication purpose. This chart is depicted here. You can see in the down one. But coming to our digital design flow, our last part is the implementation part. That means after the synthesis, placement, technology mapping, placement, and routing, parallelly we are going to generate a bit file. That because the output of your synthesis, we are going to generate a bit file that is being dumped on your programming kit. This kit may be a FPGA board or CPLD board or whatever it is. Okay. So that diagram you can able to see in the right side of the PPT slide. This is my FPGA board. This is my data table, and the output of your CPU is getting connected with to the input port of your FPGA board, such that the program or the bit file or the programming file, which is FPGA understandable, is being dumped onto your FPGA board, such that I can verify the hardware. Hardware verification can be done. How hardware verification can be done is, for example, you can take the inputs, you can take the logic of an XOR gate. XOR gate you have designed inside your Verilog program. So A and B are the inputs of your XOR gate, and the output is Y. Okay. So when A and B are 0 and 1, output is hello. Hello. Hello.
Sir, are you asking?
Yes, I am asking. I have developed a digital circuit that is XOR gate, whose inputs are A and B and the output is Y. If the inputs of your XOR gate are 1 and 0, what is the output is my question.
0, sir.
0.
1, sir.
1, sir.
1. It is 1. So that means the bit file is dumped on your FPGA board. On the FPGA board, I am having switch buttons which are acting as an inputs, and the outputs are given by the LEDs here, that is light emitting diodes. So inputs are connected to switches, outputs are connected to LEDs. So A and B are the switches, output is one LED. Why? When A switch is on and B switch is off, what is the output LED status? It will blink or not?
Yes, sir.
What?
LED will blink, sir.
Yes, that's it. This is our hardware verification. This is our part, digital design flow. That means we are verifying hardware verification only we are doing. So this is the thing. Okay. Now, so this is as per your VLSI outputs, chip realization, lastly appending pads for your core chip area. And this is what finally IC integrated circuit you are going to develop, like realize. Realization. Okay, shall we take any break for 1 minute? Shall I continue, ma? Okay, you people won't give me any rest time. Okay, so like we came to know that my design is having a module inside it. I am having many number of sub modules, leaf modules, all these things are there. So finally, it is my duty to design any hardware circuit. So there are two design methodologies. One is top-down design methodology, and the next is bottom-up design methodology. So in the top-down design methodology, what is happening? We are defining the top-level block here. Okay. And after the top-level block defining, this top-level block is having many number of sub-blocks inside it, right? So the many number of sub-blocks are necessary here to build the top-level blocks. But again the sub blocks is having a many or a plenty number of leaf blocks or leaf cells. Okay, so that means a combination of a leaf cells gives you a sub block or a sub module. A combination of many number of sub modules giving you a top level or a top block. This is a top-down design methodology. That means we are coming from top level block and we are going to leaf cell here. But coming to a bottom-up approach, we first define a building block. What is the basic building block here? Leaf cell. So, so we build bigger cells by using the leaf cell, and by using the bigger cells, we are going to achieve the higher level blocks until we realize our required block or a required module. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Right, good. So the hardware designers, what they will be using here nowadays is they will use a combination of your top level block as well as the bottom up block. I mean bottom up approach as well as a top down approach. That is coming logical designers. That means the one who developed the program. Okay, who the one who developed the logic. That is the logical designers here. This they will be described or they will be deciding how the design should be structurally breaked. How the design should be structurally breaked up such that the functionality should not be mismatched. Okay, so the logical designers will be taking care of structurally breaking down the bigger module, and they will be again breaking the into the bigger module into the sub blocks or sub modules. So this is the work the logical designers will do. For example, we are having what a ripple carry counter. We will take an example of a ripple carry counter. So my ripple carry counter is having, can I say, many number of T flip flops? Yes or no? Hello. Hello. Respond.
So please give question once again.
I'm discussing this top-down approach. In the top-down approach, the logical designers will take care of how a bigger module can be structured or can be break down into a sub-modules or a sub-blocks such that they are not going to disturb the functionality of each and every sub-block or sub-module. So here what I have taken the example as a ripple carry counter. This ripple carry counter is having a many number of submodules as T flip-flops or not is the question.
Yes, sir.
Right. So again the T flip-flop are realized by a combination of D flip-flop and NOT gate like this.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's it. So here ripple carry counter. Inside my ripple carry counter, many number of T flip-flops. Again, many number inside my T flip-flop, I am having D flip-flop and inverter. So after this, I cannot break the blocks any further. This is about top-down design approach. Now coming to bottom-up approach, what is happening? The flow will be in opposite direction. That is, we could build a D flip-flop by a combination of AND gate or OR gates, right? So a D flip-flop, a standard D flip-flop is developed by AND gates and OR gates. At same time, circuit designers will be designing optimized circuits for your AND gate and OR gate. Okay, D flip-flop, how I am going to build by using a combination of logical AND gates and OR gates. But the circuit designers means they will be mainly working on the transistors, right? So transistors means channel length optimization, some kind of optimization will be done for the transistors, and they are going to develop an optimized D flip-flop. So, so the optimized circuits for the leaf cells, which means here D flip-flop and inverter, are built. So by using these leaf cells, they are going to achieve the higher cells, that is T flip-flop, and okay, of course they are going to achieve the higher cells T flip-flop and then the ripple carry counter. But my question is, can I say the top-down design as well as the bottom-up design will meet at an intermediate level? That is, can I say the flow meets at an intermediate point where the circuit designers have created a library of leaf cell. That means which cannot be optimized further. Okay, and the logical designers have designed from top down until all the modules are defined in terms of a leaf sets. Can I say like this? That means both the floors are meeting at an intermediate point. Can I say yes or no? Yes or no?
Come again, sir.
I am saying that top level top down design approach and bottom up design approach, the flow will be meeting at an intermediate level. That is the logic circuit designers, they will be taking care of how the design should be broken down into sub modules and sub modules. Okay, so here the until they are going to achieve the leaf cells here. So in my example of a ripple carry counter, the leaf cells are D flip-flop as well as the NOT gate. So my question is, the D flip-flop and the NOT gate are developed by the circuit designers, because in the top-down design approach, logical designers will be taking care of. In the bottom-up approach, first thing what they will be doing, the circuit designers will be taking care of developing the optimized leaf cells. That means optimized D flip-flop or optimized NOT gate they will be developing. So these optimized cells are utilized by the logical designers. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
దట్స్ ఇట్. బికాస్ వీళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారు, ఇక్కడ రిపుల్ క్యారీ కౌంటర్ ఉంది, ఆ మాడ్యూల్ని లైక్ సబ్ మాడ్యూల్స్గా డివైడ్ చేస్తారు. ఈ డీ ఫ్లిప్ ఫ్లాప్ ఇన్వర్టర్ గేట్స్ వచ్చినాయి. సో ఇవి ఎవరు సప్లై చేయాలి, మళ్ళీ బాటమ్ అప్ అప్రోచ్ నుంచి రావాలి. అంటే ఎవరు బాటమ్ అప్ అప్రోచ్ని టేక్ కేర్ చేసేది? సర్క్యూట్ డిజైనర్స్. ఈ సర్క్యూట్ డిజైనర్స్ ఏం చేస్తారు, ఆప్టిమైజ్డ్ సెల్స్ కానీ ఆప్టిమైజ్డ్ లైబ్రరీస్ కానీ సప్లై చేస్తారు. దేనికి? డీ ఫ్లిప్ ఫ్లాప్స్ని డెవలప్ చేయడానికి. So that means, can I say the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach of flow will be meeting at some intermediate point? అర్థమవుతుందా?
Yes, sir.
That's it. Okay, these are the two design methodologies we are having here. So that's it now for the design methodologies. And the next concept is module. You go through it. I have covered what is this module. A module is what? It is a basic building block in a Verilog language. Without the module name, we cannot do anything here. Module name should be there. So a module, it may be a small element like a OR gate, NOT gate, or a collection of lower level design blocks. So lower level design blocks means, can I say, I consider T flip flop as a design block, which is a lower level. A collection of lower level design blocks is a ripple carry counter. That means ripple carry counter is also a module here. So module name is must. So this module ripple carry counter will provide the necessary functionality to the higher level blocks if required. Otherwise, you can take the T flip flop as a module. This T flip flop is providing the necessary functionality of your ripple carry counter. That means to achieve the ripple carry counter functionality, T flip flop is serving as an agent. So each and every module will be having its input-output interfaces. So this is the one. And the internals of the module, that means the definition or the logic that is present inside your module is independent to the environment of the module. అంటే నువ్వు ఇంటర్నల్గా ఇప్పుడు I given a question for you, so you have you have done very hard work and finally you got with me a solution. So if I am the environment for you, I won't see how you have achieved a solution. It is your headache. That is what it is. That means you can define the module in any of the abstraction, but I want finally the functionality from you. That is what the module definition says. So here the internals of your module can be defined in 4 levels of abstraction: behavioral, data flow, structural, and switch level. Module definition is clear for everyone?
So it means we need output, not the internal code.
No, అంటే ఇంటర్నల్గా నువ్వు అంటే నువ్వు ప్రోగ్రామ్ కోడ్ ఎట్లన్నా రాసుకో. ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను నీకు ఇచ్చిన ఐ హ్యావ్ అసైన్ యువర్ డ్యూటీ టు పర్ఫార్మ్ 8-bit మల్టిప్లికేషన్. సో ఆ 8-bit మల్టిప్లికేషన్ని నువ్వు వ్యాలస్ట్రీ మల్టిప్లేయర్ యూజ్ చేయి ఇన్సైడ్ నువ్వు ఎట్లయినా డెవలప్ చేసుకొని కోడ్. దట్ మీన్స్ ద లాజిక్ అనేది నువ్వు వ్యాలస్ట్రీ మల్టిప్లేయర్తో డెవలప్ చేయొచ్చు, లేకపోతే వేదిక్ మల్టిప్లేయర్తో డెవలప్ చేయొచ్చు, లేకపోతే ఇంకేమైనా మల్టిప్లేయర్స్ యూజ్ చేసి కూడా డెవలప్ చేయొచ్చు. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఆస్కింగ్, ఐ నీడ్ ద మల్టిప్లికేషన్ ప్రోడక్ట్. అది నా ఫంక్షనాలిటీ. ఆ ఫంక్షనాలిటీని నువ్వు తీసుకురావాలి, నువ్వేమైనా చేసుకో. దట్ ఈస్ ద డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ మాడ్యూల్.
Okay, sir.
Right, good.
Sir, I have a confusion with the syntax, sir. In previous 2 codes, I found end module, there is a white space in first code, what we have seen. And in second code, I found no white space, but E is lowercase. Now here E is uppercase.
Where my is where?
At the end of the code, sir, in syntax, end module.
End module, yeah, that is my mistake only, because all the keywords will be in small case only. Don't worry on that.
And what about white space, sir, in other
Ah,
codes?
yeah, while we are learning the language, we will study all these things. Okay, don't worry. And like we will be coming across each and every like constructor whenever we started learning the language. Don't worry. Okay, shall I move?
Yes, sir, carry on.
Okay, so because I said you a system is there. Inside my system, I may have CPU or memory or maybe a controller, timers, whatever it is, subsystems, many number of subsystems. Inside my CPU, I may have arithmetic unit, I may have registers, I may have a memory units like RAM and ROM. So inside my arithmetic unit, I may have addition, subtraction, or multiplier, or whatever it is. Again, the adder are developed by a many number of logical gates. Again, each and every logical gate is developed by a many number of transistors. This is the hierarchy what we follow generally. So here, as we are having here the top level block, it is always preferable to develop or to design any top level block with behavioral abstraction level. With behavioral abstraction. Okay. Of course, all these things are RTL only, that is register transfer level only, which is nothing but simply a hardware description language. So whenever we are having a logical gates, for suppose in my design, it is always preferable to develop this with gate level description. Whenever we are having the transistors in our design, simply a transistors, it is always preferable to develop with transistor level or a switch level abstraction. And whenever you are adding this in between the subsystems, CPU subsystem arithmetic, or in between the adder or subtractor, we can go with the data of the abstraction level, as I have indicated in the previous slide. Like this, behavioral, data flow, structural, and switch level. Okay. So shall we discuss on each and every abstraction level now? Respond. Shall we discuss?
Sir, in the next class.
No, ma, because I have to take the class up to 10:15 at least. I have started it very lately. You people joined at 10:15 or 10:20 time.
Okay, sir, then continue.
Kindly cooperate for 5 more minutes. Okay. So next is this one, behavioral abstraction. So what is this behavioral abstraction is? It is a highest level of abstraction in the Verilog HDL. That is, module can be implemented without any concern for the hardware. That means hardware here simply nothing but the logic. It may be a logical gates, or it may be a transistors, or it may be a, I don't know, whatever it is. So without any concern for the hardware, like without any concern for the seeing the hardware, I am going to develop the HDL code. So designing HDL in behavioral abstraction level resembles like simply a C programming. For example, we will take here a multiplexer as my module. So module, what is the name of this module name? I have taken MUXP. What is the inputs and outputs? D0, D1 are the inputs, S is the input, Y is the output. Exclusively, I am providing what are the inputs and outputs here. Input D0, D1, and output is S. Sorry, S is input. So output is what? Output is Y. So in my behavioral abstraction, whenever I am taking or whenever I am like referring any output variable, I need to use the keyword called reg output reg y. Okay, so always, that means for every time, for any time, always at a rate. What are the inputs here? D1, D0 and S. That means always I have to depend upon the inputs, okay, such that I need to develop what is the output. Begin. If yes, that means if S is equal to 1, D0 will be selected or D1 will be selected.
D1.
Yes, D1 will be selected, else. So see my here, these all are the lowercase letters only, don't get confused. All are lowercase letters. Else, y equal to D0. I have used here begin, I need to use here end. I have used module, this is my end module. So this is the behavioral abstraction. And in the data flow abstraction, what happens? The module is defined by specifying the data flow as the designer shows how the data is flowing between the registers and how the data is processed by the design. Okay. Now, you can see here module muxd. The module name I have taken here as muxd, same input output ports declaration. Now, in the data flow abstraction, I will be definitely using sign as my keyword. So, sign y equal to, you know this conditional operator in C language.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. So when y equal to s question mark d1 and d0, that means when y equal to s, when s is true, which one will be evaluated as an output?
D1.
Right. When s is false,
D0.
D0.
right. That's it. So this is about data flow abstraction. Coming to gate level abstraction, everything in my program logic I need to define in terms of a logical gates. So is the circuit diagram for the multiplexer in terms of logical gate is right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the module mux G Y output D0 D1 input inputs and outputs. In between I am having many number of bytes T1, T2, S bar. So and how many number of AND gates here I am using? 2 AND gates, 1 OR gate, 1 NOT gate. But I am having here 2 copies of AND gate, that is why in my program and A1 I need to write and A2. After that T1 comma D1 comma S. Here T2 comma D0 comma S bar. This I need to write, but I wantedly didn't given the copy names here. I expected that someone will be asking the question. So after that not S bar, the output of your not is S bar, input of your not is S. Okay. So OR gate, last is my final output is Y. The inputs for your OR gate is T1 and T2. So this is how a gate level description, which is designed in terms of logical gates and interconnections between them. And the last one is switch level abstraction. So it is the lowest level of abstraction I can say, which is implemented in terms of switches. What are the switches here?
Transistors.
Very good. Transistors are the switches. Sometimes we call this as a storage nodes also. So everything, the design will be designed in terms of switches and storage nodes and interconnections between the switches. That's it. This is about switch level implementation. So as the technology becomes sophisticated, if we use switch level, it generally consumes a lot amount of power, for which generally the hardware designers will be using either of behavioral or data flow or the gate level abstractions only. Okay. Then all these are defined in terms of an hardware description language, that is HDL. Now, the designers, so this HDL, of course, we say most familiarly as an RTL description. That is, RTL is a Verilog description, uh, which may be a combination of a behavioral and data flow, and this RTL is to be synthesized, is must be synthesizable code. That means whenever we are sending this code to a synthesis tool, it should be synthesized and we should get a gate level netlist. Of course, because if this is the code, I am sending it to a synthesizer, the output of your gate level netlist have to provide this realization. If I am sending this code or this code, data flow or behavioral, the output of your gate level synthesis should provide me this description. Okay. So this is about synthesis. And normally, actually, what happens, the highest level of abstraction is more flexible and technology independent. But as I am going to the lowest level of abstraction, that is switch level of storage nodes, can I say it is a technology dependent?
Yes, sir.
How?
Optimization, sir.
అంటే ఇక్కడ లోయెస్ట్ లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ అబ్స్ట్రాక్షన్ స్విచ్ లెవెల్ ఉంటాయి. స్విచ్ లెవెల్ అంటే ట్రాన్సిస్టర్స్ అంటే మనము ఒక నానోమీటర్ టెక్నాలజీ యూజ్ చేయాలి. అంటే వీ కెన్ డిజైన్ ఎయిటర్ ఇన్ 180 నానోమీటర్ ఆర్ 90 ఆర్ 45 ఆర్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఇట్ ఈస్. వీ హ్యావ్ టు like mainly like look over the technology what we are using for designing our digital circuit. So in this manner, I am saying that as I am moving towards the lowest level of abstraction, it is a technology dependent. Then what about the highest level of abstraction?
It's not dependent, sir.
Yes, it is independent. That means if you are designing any program in higher level languages, it can be ported to any machine. Okay. But if you are designing any program in assembly level language, it can be ported to a specific machine. For that machine only, it is acceptable. For remaining machines, it cannot be acceptable. That is the difference between your high level language and low level language. I mean, assembly level language. So, shall we stop? I need to